on Sports on Tap. It's our Week 11 playoff matchups here in Sports on Tap. Go to sportsontappodcast.com. And or you can check us out on Twitter at SOT Podcast. We're on Facebook. Check out YouTube as well, as all of our podcasts are archived there, but they also are on our website. And check out neosportsinsiders.com. All right, Ed, it's our favorite time of the year. It's the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And, our teams do span across 3 different divisions and multiple regions. So we're going to focus mainly on the teams that
we've covered all year.
That we've covered and where they're at and some of their possible opponents. So we'll start with the Big School Division, Division 1, Region 1, where 2 of the Greater Cleveland Conference teams got in and 1 of the Suburban League National Division got in. So we'll start first with the matchups that we have going on. Specifically, we do have a conference battle between the Suburban League National Division and the Greater Cleveland Conference.
That's a rarity for us, Ed.
It is. You don't see that happen very often.
Nope.
Number 6 seed, the Stowe Munroe Falls Bulldogs, 9-1 overall, 6-1 in the conference. They will take on the champions of the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Mentor Cardinals, 9-1 overall, 7-0 in a very, very tough Greater Cleveland Conference slate. That game will take place at Jerome T. Osborne Stadium Friday night at 7:30 p.m. And I'll tell you what, I think for both of these schools, I think they're both feeling pretty good about the fact that they avoided the 2 parochials that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Well, you're exactly right. Mentor number 3, Stowe number 6. Now, this game, Sean mentioned about defense being important. These are 2 high-powered offenses going up against one another, so the defenses are going to have to really step their games up. And I think in this game specifically, the team that's able to play better on defense will win this game. By no means, even though Mentor's the third seed and Stowe's the 6th seed, these teams are pretty evenly matched, I believe. And I think, offensively for Mentor, they have the firepower to hang with anyone in high school football.
Yeah, they sure
but
do.
Defensively is where they're going to have to prove that they are a contender for a championship. And they got a tough matchup against Stowe.
Yeah, Stowe's got a great dual-threat quarterback in Corian Rice. In years past, they've relied a lot on a running game with either one of the Gobble brothers. You also had quarterback Kyle Van Treese and Joe Andraci as the quarterback receiver combination there. They're all gone, and they've really switched their offense up a little bit. And Corian Rice is the leader of that, and he is a very, very talented rusher. You also have Terry and Ray who can tote the rock as well. So we'll see if they're able to get a little bit of success on both the passing and the rushing side, because it's going to be tough to stop Mentor. There's no other way around it. When they're playing at their best, and they usually are, they're going to put up 40 points. And I think Stowe's best chance here is to ball control and continue and keep the ball on the ground, keep Tadas Taunarunas and his myriad of options on the sideline, and they're going to have to score touchdowns. Field goals aren't going to cut it. So, I'm looking for Corian Rice and Terry and Ray to do a lot of the offensive damage here, and we'll see if Mentor's defense can stop them.
Very true. The next matchup that in Division I, Region 1, Euclid, it's the 4-5 matchup. Euclid will play host to Massillon Jackson. This is a 4-5 matchup. Usually these teams are very evenly matched. Looking at this matchup, obviously Euclid, another high-powered offense from the GCC, led by running back Ronald Lee, goes up against a Massillon Jackson team that can score a lot of points, but has also given up a lot of points. So I think the goal for Euclid in this matchup is to get out to an early lead and then just go behind your workhorse, Ronald Lee, and just run the ball. Run. And if they're able to do that, they can come away with a victory. But, again, Massillon Jackson, they have the ability to put up points. And, again, we talked about it. Defense is going to be huge. Euclid defense is somewhat underrated. They have a pretty decent defense, although, Ed, the game that they played against Brunswick, there was 8,000 points scored in that game.
Same with Mentor, too.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's going to be key for Euclid to see if their defense can step up and make some stops. But I got to go with the running horse of Ronald Lee. I mean, the dude's rushed for almost 2,000 yards this year. So if you can run the ball with him and basically have ball control and control the clock, I think you got a good chance of winning.
And if we look at the other two matchups here, we have the number 2 seed, the St. Edward Eagles. They are 9-1 overall. They will take on the number 7 seed, and they are only number 7 in number, definitely not in ability. The Kenton McKinley Bulldogs,
Yeah, that's a big
8-2
matchup.
overall of the Federal League. That's going to be a fantastic game, I think. You have one of the best teams in the Canton area against obviously one of the best teams in the Cleveland area there.
Kenton McKinley, one of the 2 losses for Massillon Jackson, the 5th seed. So they are very much capable, like you said.
It seems, I mean, when you look at this matchup, first round, this seems like a quarterfinal or a regional final matchup. Obviously with St. Edward there, they're always, usually meeting in the regional final or one of them gets there. But, this, if you were to tell me, McKinley versus St. Ed, I'm thinking, okay, we're at the regional semis or we're at least at the regional finals here. The fact that these two teams are meeting in the first round and they have to go play at in Parma for that particular game, obviously the edge would be to the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed. They had to play in Lakewood. I apologize, I looked the wrong St. Ignatius or St. Edward. But yeah, I mean, you would lean towards the higher seed, but Canton McKinley, like you guys said, is not an easy team. They are 7 in number only, not in ability. So this could be, as much as Euclid, Jackson, or Stowe Monroe Falls is going, this could be something where we look back and say this game was a lot closer than we thought. I still would give the edge to St. Ed's, but with Canton McKinley there, anything's possible, and they do travel pretty well. I mean, only having 2 losses on the year, it's not necessarily it bodes well for them going into a hostile Lakewood Stadium.
And the last matchup, just briefly, Cleveland St. Ignatius, they are 9-1 overall. They will host Massillon Perry, who has made it to the state championship here in the last couple of years in Division II. They move up to Division I with a competitive balance. So obviously a very, very same thing as what we were saying before, Sean. Another potential regional championship matchups taking place in the first round. So.
Yeah.
The Perry Panthers are going to travel to Byers Field and take on the Wildcats. So very, very competitive Division I, Region I slate. So we'll see, come back here on Monday, next Monday, and we'll go over the results from those respective games. We will move to Division II, Region 5. We have a team from both the Suburban League American Division and the Suburban League National Division. First, from the National Division, the number 5 seed, the Hudson Explorers, 7-3 overall, 5-2 in conference play. They will take on the champions of the Western Reserve Conference, Lyndhurst Brush, 8-2 overall, 6-1 in conference play. Just real briefly about this matchup, Hudson did lose a couple of their horses, Greg Maley and Kevin Callahan. Offensively, they may not, their status is in doubt. But they do have a very, very good quarterback in Colt Palais. Colin Palatani and Dawson Worthy are good receivers as well. Their defense, you wouldn't be able to tell against Wadsworth, but they had a very, 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 very good defense here. And a next factor I think it can't be overlooked is Grant Gagne, their senior kicker, who is just a monster this year. I believe it was 10 out of 11 on field goals. He made a 47-yarder against North Royalton that we saw. For Brush, though, it's all about quarterback Godwin Joe. This guy's a monster, and he has a lot of Corian Rice-like ability here for Brush. So, I think for Hudson, they lost to Stowe earlier, and Corian Rice was a big part of that. They're going to have to contain Godwin Joe a lot here, for them to give themselves a good chance to advance. That game will be Friday night, 7:30 in Lyndhurst at Brush High School. The matchup that Sean's going to talk about here, we have
number 2 seed Barberton hosting number 7 Cleveland Benedictine, and Benedictine's there. They're 6-4. They're in the playoffs. Barberton is a different animal. Barberton is a team that I've followed closely this year, and while they're able to put up points, they're also playing really, really good defense. They have their highest point total that they've allowed all year is 20. They are scoring, they're averaging in the mid-40s. So, I mean, they are able to capitalize on mistakes. And the one thing that I saw when I saw them play Aurora was, even when the game was never in doubt, they were playing, they were hustling, they were running the ball, they were sound defensively. This is a team that can I think that can go far in this region and possibly win the region. They have weapons like Zane Reese at quarterback, Garrett Turnbull wide receiver, Jeff Parker at running back, Keith Thompson on both sides of the ball, both offensively and defensively, is a threat to make a huge difference on this game. So, if Barberton continues to do what they've been doing all season, sound defense, swarming defense, and let their offense do what they do, I think this game is over pretty quickly in Barberton, and I think that's exactly what the Magic fan wants, is this game to be something of a stepping stone to where they have to go and who they want next week. Taking nothing away from Benedictine, it had a great season. I just think if you look at what Barberton's been able to accomplish all year, I don't give a lot of chance to Benedictine coming into this game, just given the weapons and the abilities that I've seen from Barberton to get up on a team early and just beat their will out of them as they go on in the second half.
Yeah, very tough matchup for Benedictine here. From they were have to travel to Rudy Sharkey Stadium Friday night at 7:30 to take on Barberton.
Yep.
The winner of that matchup will take on the champions of the winner of this matchup. The champions of the Lake Erie League, the Bedford Bearcats, will take on Western Reserve Conference representative Eastlake North. They are 6-4 overall. Bedford is 9-1 overall. Their only losses to Massillon, Washington, the Massillon, and they have put up a ton of points over the course of the year. So, very, very potent offense there. So we could look at a very potential Barberton Bedford matchup in week 2 of the playoffs. The wrap-up Region 5, you have the number 1 seed Archbishop Hoban out of Akron. They are the defending state champions. They will take on the Mayfield Wildcats, also of the Western Reserve Conference. All right, Division 2, Region 6. We have a little bit of representation from everywhere here, and we'll get Rob to start us off here, as his team is the number 1. One of his teams is the number 1 seed in Division 2, Region 6.
Yeah, the Avon Eagles, number 1, they're 10-0 as they take on number 8 St. John's Jesuit at 6-4, and that should be a really good game. Avon, led by quarterback Ryan Malloy, they've had a great year offensively and defensively, and have dominated really in the Southwestern Conference. They really stood out to me this year. But there's other representatives too. But I know another team for you is in it as well.
The number 2 seed in Division 2, Region 6 is the Wadsworth Grizzlies. They are the champions of the Suburban League National Division, 10-0 overall, 7-0 in the conference. They will host Sylvania Northview, the Wildcats. They are 8-2 overall. They finished 6-1 in their conference. 5-2 in the Northern Lakes Conference. This is Joey Bachman has been a monster this year, and he's had a lot of help with Brock Snowball running the ball, Christian Zalay, and Mitchell Blackburn as his receivers. A very opportunistic defense. Last year we talked about Bachman and the Wadsworth offense put up a lot of points, but when they faced playoff caliber teams, they were not playing as well. They have completely shattered that this year, setting school records along the way. So, very, very competitive matchup here. And I think we can talk about this. We're actually going to go out there for this game.
That's right.
That will be one of the 2 games of the week for Sports on Tap. So you're going to get Josh Jeffy and myself, Ed Dick, running out to
look out, Wadsworth.
Running out
We're
to
coming for you.
Art Wright Stadium out in Wadsworth to check out number 2 versus number 7. And
I think Wadsworth is probably one of the hottest teams Avon and Wadsworth to me are very similar teams, both pretty dominant in their own divisions this year. And
it seems like in this region, those 2 teams are on a head-on collision course to play each other. They're just both playing at a higher level right now. Yeah. Not to say that the other teams might not sneak up on them, but I just think they're playing at such an outstanding level right now that I think it's going to be one versus number 2 in this region for sure.
Well, Rob, we have another matchup there, and it's going to be a rematch from the Southwestern Conference.
Yeah, Southwestern Conference rematch. Number 3 Olmsted Falls coming in at 9-1, taking on the number 6 Midview Middies at 8-2. These teams didn't play too long ago, in which Olmsted Falls came out a winner. This is again game 2. It's tough to beat a team in the Southwestern Conference twice. We'll see what happens here. Again, Olmsted Falls, we know what they can do well, and that's run the football. Can Midview stop them and figure out a game plan this time? Seamus Higley, the quarterback for Midview, has had a great year. Connor Wolf, the running back for Midview, they have a lot of weapons. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring. Well, it could be a high-scoring game, or it could be the defense. Are they going to step up and really contain an Olmsted Falls team or a Midview team? I don't know. It's going to be tough to tell.
Like I said, this game's a toss-up to me. Again, it's when you're looking at a team that are playing each other for the second time, you now have film. You now have film exactly doing what you're doing, what you do. So you're not having to extrapolate information based upon another team's offense. Look, that's your players. You know how to beat them. You know what you did wrong. Here's where you correct the mistakes. Here are their tendencies against our defense. Midview could benefit from that, but again, like you mentioned, Rob, Olmsted Falls is kind of on a roll, and they're putting up points, and they're able to do that. And we saw that in person against Brecksville. They're able to do that pretty quickly, and you know what I mean. It's going to be interesting to watch that to watch that matchup because, like you said, it's very difficult to beat a team twice in one season.
Well, and this time it is in Olmsted Falls, where Olmsted Falls on the road beat Midview at home.
So I mean, that could be the difference maker. This could come down to a field goal. This could come down to a special teams play, an X factor play. All things being equal, I think these teams are well matched up, given where they are in the standings. But I also see them being, a team that we may be a squeaker play or something like that no one plans for that decides this outcome.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, and then we also have a representative from the Suburban League American Division in America, Division II, Region 6.
Yeah, it's the Medina Highland Hornets coming in at number 4, taking on White House Anthony Wayne. This game is going to, for Highland, this game is going to go as their offensive and defensive leaders go. As Jake Rogers, as Matthew Ernest, and as Jake Sir Lewis. Sorry, I blanked on their names. I had them written down. But those are the offensive guys for Rogers. He's offense and defense, and special teams. I look for Highland to kind of right the boat. They got knocked off.
How are they going to come back after losing the last game of the season
to Barberton at home? To have another home playoff game. But we were there. Josh and I were there for the Highland Aurora game. And it was you could feel the atmosphere there, and that was a heartbreaker of a loss. That was tough to. They rebounded pretty well the following week. I mean, Jake Rogers accounted for almost 500 yards of total offense on his own. So I mean, how they respond to losses, we've seen that after Aurora. Maybe they have the same type of performance against an Anthony Wayne team. But Anthony Wayne is 9-1. They're no slouch. They're a 5 seed, and they could make a case for being in the top 4.
Well, and last year they played an Olmsted Falls team, and they were up big time, but ended up falling as they came back and beat White House Anthony Wayne. But a team that can put up a lot of points. Usually.
So I look for this game to be a high-scoring affair, and I think Highland pulls it out because they have just enough playmakers on their defense as well as their offense to make a difference here. And look for Jake Rogers making a serious contribution on the special teams here. He's been doing it all year. He's returning punts, returning kicks. He's getting interceptions. He's been doing it. As they go, Highland tends to go.
And, we could see another potential playoff matchup between Avon and Highland. I mean, they seem to run into the playoffs every couple of years here.
Yeah.
Avon got them. Avon was able to defeat Highland back when Jerry Scholl was the quarterback, and Avon had Ross Douglas as their running back, which was a good game. And then Highland repaid the favor, beating Avon in the regional championship. That game was in Brunswick. So we could see that as a potential round 2 matchup here. And, hell, that'd be great if it's in Brunswick. That'd be pretty close for us
awesome
to have
game
to maybe take a look at. So, there's your Division II Region 6 look. The last division that we will spend particular attention with. These do contain 2 of the Suburban League American Division teams, as well as the Buckeye Bucks, who I don't know, maybe you heard this earlier, but
we
they
did the recap,
win.
Josh.
They did win
Did the
49-0.
Knocked out the recap, buddy. Knocked it out of the park, I would say. They won. Yeah, they won 49-0.
Hey. So we'll go over two of the other matchups here real quick. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin out of the North Coast League. They will take on the Alliance Aviators. That is a 4-5 matchup. Alliance, they are actually where I went to school. I went to school at Alliance at Mount Union. So Alliance will come up to Chardon for that matchup. And then we have St. Vincent St. Mary. They are 7-3 overall. They will take on Peninsula Woodridge, representing the Portage Trail Conference. That game will be in Peninsula at Woodridge High School. It's a 3-6 matchup. Well, Duff, we'll give you your choice. Which one you want to talk about first?
Let's start with Aurora here, who's, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, snuck in here at the 8th seed, and they got to take on a pretty good Canfield team. Aurora's kind of an X factor to me. They had a rough start to the season. They didn't win any of their non-conference games, but they went on a roll, only losing to Barberton in the conference, which really helped them because as Barberton kept winning, it kind of helped them, and then they got wins from Highland and things like that, and then big win on Week 10 against Mifflin. Aurora is an interesting – I mean, they're playing with their backup quarterback. Gavin Blunt is the focal point of that offense. Canfield's got a pretty good defense and obviously a very good defense. They're 10-0. They haven't lost. So it's going to be interesting. I hope Aurora can pull this one out, but all signs are pointing to Canfield. Again, this out of all the divisions is the most chalk to me when I look at where the seedings go. I don't see a lot of potential for upset here, with the exception of the next game I'll talk about, which is Talmadge and Buckeye. But Aurora has had a kind of a roller coaster season, starting off rough. A big emotional win over Highland, coming right after a big blowout loss to Barberton, and then going on a roll from Highland on, winning out your season, getting in the playoffs. They could be a team reminiscent to Avon Lake, as we saw last year, that got in by the skin of their teeth and then made some noise. So if Aurora can get their offense going early and stop Canfield from putting up points like they can, then obviously they stand a shot. If they play a game like they did against Highland, we could definitely see potential for Aurora eking out a win. But from what Canfield's done this year, they've won close, they've won big. So they seem to have a little bit of grit to them. So they don't get panicked too much, and they're able. I mean, obviously they're 10-0 and they're number one in the division for a reason. So.
Yeah, I mean they have good wins. They are the only loss for Alliance this year, and they also beat a very, very good Poland Seminary team who is a perennial playoff contender in Division 4, Region 13, and then they also beat Struthers. The Struthers is 7-3. They are also in the playoffs. So Canfield had a pretty good schedule, as did Aurora, obviously. And they were able to sneak in, as you said. I mean, this was very, very highly contested. This region specifically, because you had Kenston just on the outside looking in. But as far as the playoff seeding itself was concerned, at Friday night before the games were done on Saturday, Buckeye had a possibility of playing Aurora.
Yeah, and
then St. Vincent St. Mary needed some things to happen for them to be able to jump where they are. They could have very well been taking on Buckeye. So this is where the chips fell. Now we have the number 2 seed, the Buckeye Bucks, taking on the number 7 seed, the Talmadge Blue Devils.
And this game is interesting. This game, and we kind of touched on it during my recap. Talmadge has been the surprise of the American Division this year. They were kind of in the doldrums last year. They didn't play very well. They lost a couple of big games. This year, with the resurgence and the actual really good play of running back Ty Shannon, to allow them to control the clock, I think they pose a very good potential threat in something that Buckeye's not used to seeing. A strong runner that has the speed to hit the perimeter, but also has the toughness to take it right up the middle, up the A-gap. And that's exactly what Buckeye would want them to do, because they are good on the defensive end, but they may struggle a little bit on the perimeter. We don't know. Now, on the flip side of that, Buckeye has been firing on all cylinders. You got Adam Favre, you got Dominic Monaco, you got Justin Kennedy, and now you got some sophomores who had a really big game against Brookside, last week. So there's a lot of emotion, and again, we talk about that thing. It's the monkey on the back. they've been in the playoffs a lot, Buckeye. They've been high-ranked in the playoffs, but they have not got a win. Talmadge isn't – these two teams are not necessarily perennial playoff teams all the time. So, with the exception of Buckeye being in it, but not successful playoff teams that go past the first round. So this has a potential. If Ty Shannon can get going early on, they can control the clock, keep Fauver off the field, and really hammer that defense with the run game, you may see some cracking in that armor that Buckeye has. Now, my gut's telling me that Buckeye's going to be up for the challenge, and I think that they can really take it on and probably win this game handily. If they play the way they've been playing the last few weeks, they're as tough as anybody to beat in this division. And they, in my opinion, Canfield's had a really good season, but you could realistically flip a coin between Buckeye and Canfield, put them 1 or 2, and I don't think you find a lot of people outside of those respective fan bases that would have anything to say about it.
I would. I think St. Vincent St. Mary is the wild card here.
Okay.
I think
True.
they are a very, very good team. They have state championship experience themselves, and they have a very tough opponent in Woodridge to start. But I would just be very wary of St. Vincent St. Mary as as this playoff. Yeah. If they're able to get by Woodridge, I think they can present a problem. I think they can present matchup problems for Buckeye.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to get to that point, but obviously we have to play the games first, and we'll see what happens.
Yep. And that's our second game of the week as we travel down the road to Buckeye as they take on Talmadge, the Blue Devils.
You will see Robert Troutman and myself.
Right. So
Sean
come
Duffy.
say hi.
Come say hi. Don't be scared. I don't have a beard anymore because I lost a costume contest for Halloween. But I promise I am the same local jokel.
It's going to be a lot of fun. The playoffs.
Yes. Just quickly recap. Two games of the week for Sports on Tap.
Yep.
Josh and myself will be out in Wadsworth for Wadsworth, Sylvania, Northview. And then Rob and Sean will be in Medina, York Township, for the Buckeye Talmadge contest.
Get ready.
Get ready.
It's going to be fun. Playoffs are here, folks. Guys, any last thoughts?
Hey, this is. If you love high school football, this is such an exciting time of year.
Yep.
You see teams that you see teams that you don't really know about.
Yep.
And if you're coaching in these contests, provided you're not playing a rematch and you don't see these teams a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a new challenge, and it really is a new season that you prepare for. So. We're going to be covering it. We don't know what we're going to do next week because it's completely dependent on what happens in week 11. So, week 12, we some of our teams may still be around. They might all get knocked out. Rob's going to have at least one that moves on because they're playing each other.
Yeah.
But we can't say the same for ours.
Yeah,
we'll see.
And just a quick thing I almost forgot: the Buckeye Bucks won 49-0 over Brookside. Almost forgot to get that recap in there. Adam Fauver had a pretty good day.
All right. I'm glad you mentioned. I'm actually glad you said something about that.
Because Ed's going to give a full recap.
No, the one blast shout out to Fayetteville Perry, my brother-in-law Kevin Finch's the Fayetteville Rockets. They did lose 53-14 to a 10-0 Bethel Tate squad.
Dang.
So Fayetteville finishes the season 5-5 overall. With one conference victory. This is a new conference, and Coach Finch was a little concerned about how his team would do in this newer conference. They're playing bigger teams, and unfortunately, this year it seemed to have taken a toll on him. But he's a great coach, and I have no doubt that going into next year, they'll figure something out to be able to compete with those bigger schools.
And the Butler Aviators did win their final game.
Oh, good. That's real good, Sean. Yeah, how about that recap?
All right.
No, go ahead.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, Buckeyes Adam Falk.
Yeah, all right. Enough of that.
All right, guys. Hey, great week 10, great season so far, and it will continue.
All right, Sean, I'm serious. No, I'm sorry.
All right.
You're done.
Hey, good luck to all the teams out there making the playoffs. Congratulations on great seasons. All right. For Ed Dick, Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy, I'm Rob Troutman.
We're ready for the playoffs.
Check out our website, sportsontapodcast.com, at SOT Podcast on Twitter. We'll see ya in Week 11 as we head out to Buckeye and Wadsworth. See you guys. Good luck.